Ken, I commend you on speaking out and speaking up as a Black man and as my son, because some of the stuff that I've heard, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal, particularly Shannon Sharp and LeBron James, especially the first ones I mentioned, because if they were my sons, I would be totally embarrassed. And I think I can't remember whether it was Dr. Johnson or maybe both, Jewel. Shima or Jewel, I can't remember who said it about the challenges that we ask upon since the Brooklyn Nets put this out here. I went through on my podcast, my regular podcast today, on all of those challenges, all six of them. And I challenged the Brooklyn Nets, the same thing that you just said, whichever one of both of you that said it. It's on my podcast today. I challenged the Brooklyn Nets to do the same that they're asking us, because this impacts all of us as Black people. It's like, we're going to put these two niggas, and I'm not saying the N word because I want people to get the full impact of this. I'm going to put you two niggers in place, meaning Ye and Kyrie, so the rest of you niggas can fall in place and understand that. But Black people are not taking that anymore. We're standing up for what is right. And I go back to the Proverbs, not 2 Timothy 1:7 that says we should not have the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And that's what we have to do. And we have to stand together, yet hold one another accountable, because some of us have inappropriate behavior too. And some of the ones who are out here speaking and putting their foot on their knee on Kyrie's neck and Ye's neck, we need to look inside of our own hearts and see what's in there and check our own minds, check ourselves. So like I said, my whole podcast today is what I talked about. And it needs to be, the Brooklyn Nets needs to look at themselves. And my topic today was born Black, breathing Black, dying Black. Kyrie Irving, a man in search of his roots. Is that wrong? And no, it's not wrong. And
Well,
we as Black people have to stand up. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, and I just want us to understand that not only do they have their feet on their necks, they got their feet on the necks of everybody that knew better, that had to come out and say if they wanted to or not. I watched the broadcast with Candace Parker and those guys on NBA TV, and they seemed like they were struggling to say the things that they, and they just kind of wanted to say, well, he just needs to apologize. For what? See, the thing is this. If I jumped up and said, Hitler said, if what Hitler said was true, I'm not anti anything. Now, if I lie, then maybe that's a different thing. But when you quote, because that's one of the points that they were pointing out, he quoted Hitler. Well, they quote Hitler in college too. When you're getting history, they say things about him then. Okay, so it's not who does it. I mean, where it's done is who did it. How dare you make millions of dollars from us and you dare tweet? You supposed to shut up and dribble. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to make sure that we set up the mechanisms in our community so that when our people get attacked, and this is something I'm trying to research right now to get a hold of Nick Cannon or one of those people, or if anybody knows them, and we start our own defense.
Absolutely.
And when you come to Kyrie says, oh, well, I didn't know I was hurting you. Can you talk to Basic Life Centerpoint? And then we will address them and say, okay, what is the demands? Oh, well, we're not going to anti-Semitism because we don't believe he was being anti. Oh, no, we ain't doing this. Well, we like the statement he made. He said he didn't hate anybody. He didn't hate any people. So why are you demanding he apologize when he said, we scratch your neck? That's what has to happen. And when we do that, then our people will begin to believe in us. They don't believe in the NAACP and National Action Network and Black Lives Matter and They don't believe in them because they don't speak up when the time comes unless the Jews give them the signal. I'm not everybody I love all people.
Absolutely.
But you are not going to take one of the most oppressed groups this country ever had, right along with the Native American, and it tell us how we got to think and how we got to feel. That ain't happening like that no more. Like the young lady said, and this was my favorite quote of the whole Black Lives Matter movement. We are not our ancestors. We were. You are.
I like to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, Fred, because you're absolutely right. The thing is that if we do not speak up and address this issue, that whole controlling factor will be coming to the next man near you. And this goes to the NBA, the NFL, the MLB. If you're not speaking up for your own peers within your own sports group or across the board, understand that you're next. And as really small as what Kyrie did, they was using him as a low-hanging fruit to put the whip on, to demonstrate to the rest of us or them within the sports and entertainment business that, this is the example of how we tell you how to think. Kyrie, one of those free thinkers, and yes. And the thing is that he had a problem in the past because he did not take and that pretty much, spent everybody's head around. There's some things that we as a people, regardless of our color, regardless of our culture or race, we need to be able to say, this is not appropriate for me. I don't want to take this because I have health issues that I'm afraid will affect me. We got to be able to say that, I want my children to know and understand who we are and where we come from. The origins of our history. I want my children to know that, just like everybody else would know where they came from. But absolutely. The funny thing about it, and I'm gonna say this and I'll be quiet, the documentary gives everyone the perspective of where they started from. And this is why I get so passionate about what I say, and I apologize for getting a little bit, assertive, but it means too much for our community, for anyone to be afraid to not speak up, and say what they want to say. So anyway.
I agree with you, Jewel, 100%. I agree with what everybody is saying because we are speaking from our heart with love, because we know that our community, the only ethnic group in America that was enslaved, and we're still with almost 500 years of it. We are still out here being what I would call all the anti-Black races is directed at us. Anti-racism, I've gone through it on the jobs, in the housing, in the medical field, every aspect of our lives. So who's apologizing to us? And that's what I talked about earlier on this anti-Semitic. What about all the anti-Black? And this happened on American soil with us being enslaved. Our Black people raped and castrated, hung, beaten, brutalized in front of other Black people, and it's still being done. It's by a different template now. That's the only difference. And I'd like to say quickly, and I want our Dr. Johnson, Sheena to speak, but I want to say I'm Louise Hicks again, your host of this podcast, and I come on every Sunday. I've been coming on every Sunday since January of this year. Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, and I have a YouTube channel which is aimed, AIMED, the number 2 purpose, and I know you know how to spell purpose, but I'll just do it anyhow. PURPOSE radio. That's Aim to Purpose Radio. Go to my YouTube channel. There's lots of content out there because Kenan and myself, my son Kenan that's on here, we had a podcast that we used to do out in California, as I mentioned earlier. And give us a thumbs up, comments, and let's just come together as a unit and be sure and share this video, share it, because this is uplifting to our community, and also it lets other people know our perspective and how we are feeling, because a lot of these people are bringing in their feelings and they haven't even seen the movie, or somebody is driving them because they get a paycheck and telling them this is what you better say, because it should be about right, what is right. And we know all of the atrocities that have been leveraged against us as Black people. And I talked about it earlier, these rappers calling us bitches and hoes, and the promotion of drug addiction, alcohol within the Black community, the killing from these rappers. And we know who's signing these rappers. So Brooklyn Nets and anybody else, why aren't you calling them out and apologizing instead of all of this attempt on emasculating this young Black man for looking and searching for his roots, in which we don't have any problem with anybody else searching their roots, looking to find out who they are. And we're the only ones really in this country that really don't know who we are, because we've been given a distorted history of who we really are. And it has to stop. And it stops with people like us educating our people, because knowledge is powerful and we perish for lack of knowledge. And we need to have that knowledge explored and reinforced among ourselves so that we can unify and connect the dots and let the world know we're not backing down, because we have a right to research who we are and to know who we are and where we came from, because we know that slavery stripped us of our identity, and that's a fact. And people want to deny that. So go ahead, Dr. Johnson, and then you're going to talk about Saturday Night Live.
Well, gee, to come back after everything that has been said, I just would just like to just add to this conversation is that a higher power have entered into the minds and the souls of our people at this day and time. And when I say that, because this knowledge has always been there at least 4 or 5 years about this documentary, but the timing of this, the timing that this link that the Most High put out there so that the discussion and the understanding will be given to our people. Because once we understand who we are, where we come from, that allows for us as a people. Nobody is giving us it, no one teaching. You're learning for yourself, and you can accept and take away from this conversation, from that link, from the books or whatever, but it's an identity, because we want to belong and we want to identify ourselves. And I think it's very important that anyone that's listening to this broadcast, if you had not done so, please go and look at this documentary. It will allow you to understand a little bit more about the things that you did not understand about who you are. And in that understanding, it would allow you to be able to begin to love yourself, because the Christ didn't come to the world, as most people would say, but he came to a group of people, a tribe of people who were lost. And he came to give them, to teach them, to show them a way of love. And this love that we must have for each other and for ourselves will allow us to become the great and powerful I am. No one could ever tell us from this day forward. I just want to just put that out there to the audience that's listening. Black man, Black woman, Black family, That's what they're calling us today. But as you study, you will understand who you are and who you truly belong to, and the powers and authorities that you were given from the beginning. And now it's time for you to raise up and to be responsible, be accountable. And we as a community start to build these different venues where our people can go to and get the necessary tools that they need to, when somebody attack us, we have things in place. Fred, you had mentioned about Centerpoint, and and different organizations just coming together and to hold people accountable and let us have these kind of conversations, because I don't feel like the conversation should end with what other people have to say. It should always end with what we have to say, and or we are in agreement. So let us come together and move this conversation in other venues of Black, because now that's the conversation. They're calling us Black, but I'm not one of the Black race, but I am one of, the higher selves. But anyway, I thank you guys for allowing me to be on this call. I've learned, I got a lot of information, and everyone is just so.
And I know we're coming toward the end, but I wanna say this. There's a lot of talk about the chosen people and stuff, but if you are the chosen people of God, then you're supposed to act like it. And
Yes.
you can't have your hand in the pot and then at the same time claim to be the chosen one. And I argue that any group that has not found a way to say they are the chosen ones, then that's your fault. I mean, if you look at it, the Jews say that they are the chosen people. Christians say that they have the Savior. The Muslims say they have the last messengers. Scientologists say they have the technology. Everybody's supposed to find a way to be that which they trying to be like. So for us to sit back and just take it because somebody told us, if you made man out of dirt, anybody that was a kid to put water in dirt, what color did it turn? Dark. Okay. When we talk about the kings and queens, who was the first king in the Bible? Nimrod. When we talk about Jesus carrying his cross, who lifted the burden of that cross off of him when he couldn't walk no more? It was a Black man. So for them to act like we ain't in the equation, come on now. I'm not being, and I don't even want to make a disclaimer. I'm nowhere near being racist. I'm just saying that how come that just because somebody makes the claim, then that's the truth. And if we make our claim, then it's something that you should be whipped about. That's the way they did slaves. And we are no longer, as Brother Malcolm say, it's no longer going to be you buy the food and we cook the food. You buy the house and we clean the house. That ain't the way this is going down no more. And so, Kyrie and all them brothers that got money up there and they value their money more than they value their people. And they let people punk them even though they worth 300 and 400. My son, Fred, he said something to me one time. He said, what good is it you to have FU money if you're afraid to say FU? This is where we are now. We got FU money, but we're afraid to say FU. It's like, then why did we get the money? 50 million would have been okay. 25 million would have been okay. Why we got $200 and $300 million or more and we still kissing people's butt, or at least not standing up for our brother? Let's say they right. Then prove it. That's all. Don't teach me where I don't have the book. Prove it. But anyway, I just want to thank you. I know we way over
And
time.
you're right. That's okay if we're over. We need to get this out. You're right. And Ken, if you want to say something, give me a minute to say this, because we're going to segue into watching what Chappelle said. But I want to say this. We are the only culture that I'm aware of that others want to define our culture. That's one of the reasons I stopped watching BET, because they kept talking about the culture, the culture, the culture. And Black people don't even own BET anymore, from my understanding. So we're the only ethnic group who are these people to define our culture? We're not allowed to define anybody else's culture. Ask Whoopi Goldberg when she tried to go and give something on The View and she got suspended. Nick Cannon, who has come out and spoken on behalf of Kyrie Irving. And so what we got to do is think like Muhammad Ali did back in the day. And like I said, I'm almost 72. So I came along when Muhammad Ali was fighting and talking, and he spoke out. He said he didn't care if he didn't have any penny, if he didn't have didn't win any championships. He stood firm in his beliefs and they hated him. I remember all of this, but yet he passed away as, I guess you could say, a martyr or somebody they really respected and looked up to. But back in the day, Muhammad Ali was hated because he was speaking up and speaking out about going to the war. They wanted him to go to war, and a lot of these white people were sending their kids away so they wouldn't have to go to war. And he said he wasn't going. He said he'd rather go to jail first, because he said, why should he go over and kill these people in Vietnam? And he comes back here and he's treated like a 3/5 of a person, as the Constitution defined us and as their property. And it's still being done today, because I've experienced it myself recently, not just a long time ago. And something else, Dr. Johnson, you were saying about sharpening each other's tools. I keep this on my desk. I keep it on my desk because it's Proverbs 27:17 that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And that's what we have to continue to do, is elevate and sharpen our own people's tools. And again, I'm Louise Hicks. I'm your host of this broadcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. I have with my guest today, Minister Fred Shaw, who's been on here multiple times. Kenan Wesley Mason, my son, who is the founder of Kinetic Fit and Wellness. Jewel Bowen, who has an organization, let me say it. He is the administrator of Basic Life Center Point, and Dr. Shima Johnson, who is a Hebrew Israelite. And we have Fred Shaw III, who is Minister Fred Shaw's son, and he's on here with us. However, he's having technical difficulties with his sound, so he can hear us, but we can't hear him. So he's on here. But what I'd like to do is have this and have us to come back on here if everybody is in agreement, because this is the first time I've done a panel. I had a panel before, but not in this format. It was when I did something else, Vision on Board, because I do facilitate a Vision on Board, and we did that as a private event, and we had a panel and all of that. But this is the first time I've really had a panel since I started this spinoff podcast in January. And I'd like to continue to do it, because somebody mentioned, maybe all of you mentioned, that this is something we need to do on an ongoing basis. And I'm willing to do it. Maybe we should do it once a month. So Kenan, if you have something to say, did you by any chance watch Saturday Night Live, Kenan, last night?
No, I watched maybe 10 minutes of it when I got home today, so I really didn't watch a lot of it.
Okay, so
I
what did you want to
watched
say?
the monologue, and that was about it.
Oh, okay, so you watched the monologue, so that's good then. So Minister Shaw, what are your comments? Ken, did you have any other comments about what we just talked about before Fred talks about his take on Saturday Night Live and what Chappelle said last night? Because I thought the monologue was brilliantly, as always, he comes across very intelligent. Chappelle does, in a comedic way.
Just real quick, I just challenge anyone to go and watch the documentary. It is a bit complex, but nonetheless, it still gives some precise history and very calculated documentation of how we got to this point today, which is probably why there's the title, Hebrews to Negroes. So I just challenge anyone to watch it before you have an emotional opinion about whatever it is that's going on right now as far as Kyrie Irving or Kanye West. Watch the documentary first before you have an opinion. And as far as Dave Chappelle, I mean, here's a man that left $50 million on the table because he understood how Hollywood operates and who controls it. I mean, he kind of alluded to it last night during his monologue. He knows who controls Hollywood. I mean, it's really no secret. And now he's, because he left that 50 million on the table, now he's more in control of his own destiny. Can you imagine if Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley and Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James, and anybody else that had complaints about Kanye and Kyrie Irving, imagine if they all put their funds and finances together. I mean, we're talking about financial power that can really kind of shake things up. Again, the balance of power is what is scaring the power structure that's in control right now. The fear that we may have we do have the intelligence enough to, create our own path in the entertainment industry, in sports, or in any other field of endeavor. We have the power to make billions of dollars. If we have the power to spend all the money that we spend what, $3 billion on hair care products and this and that and the other. Just imagine if we took that same money and invested it. I mean, there's enough celebrities with enough financial gain to get us out of whatever it is that we're in, and we won't have to keep having this conversation over and over and over again, decade after decade after decade. There's enough money circulating to where we can rescue ourselves. We don't need anybody to rescue us. We can do it ourselves. We just have to have the mind of unification versus separatism. And once we have that, there's nothing that can stop us. And that's not to say it'll be at the expense of taking something away from any other culture, because we've never done that throughout history. We've never taken from anyone. But Kyrie Irving and Kanye West didn't travel 7,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to put Euro-Jewish people inside of gas chambers. They didn't bring people over here to do free labor. I mean, so again, the Holocaust happened miles and miles away over a 5-year period, as opposed to transatlantic slavery, which lasted for what, 350 years, until 1863, officially at least. We know slavery continued after that, but we're talking apples and oranges. So again, go watch the documentary. I challenge anyone to watch the documentary. And that's about it. I thank you and thank Fred Shaw for inviting me on, and I look forward to doing it again.
And we're gonna let other people speak. If you saw Saturday Night Live, I know I did. And then we will close out with everyone giving a final thought and so forth. And we do apologize, Fred III, that you weren't able to come in and speak. However, when we do this next time, hopefully you have your audio fixed and you can chime in and hear us speak. And I'm pleased that everybody has come in, because you've given such profound knowledge and nuggets you've put out here for all of us to think about and learn from each other. And I'm just happy to have you all on. Thank you. So Fred, give us what your thoughts are on Saturday Night Live, because I know you watched it.
Well, my thoughts were what I always think of Dave Chappelle. To me, he's the funniest man in comedy. Not that others aren't funny, but his wit is on a different level, and the way he approaches the subject. And, he basically takes the sting out of what they feel, because he makes it funny. And the thing is that we all know that there's whippings. He know he gonna get in trouble again, and they've already started criticizing his take. But he says what he says. He's his own person. And like Ken was saying, he walked away from that money because he would not let them control him, where other people sit there and let themselves be controlled, and then they cry and scream and act like they're a victim later on. And so we have to look at that. You know, the fact that Shaquille O'Neal and all of these people, now LeBron has lately, because he probably stays a little bit more in tune on what's going on in social media, he's come back and said Kyrie should be playing, it ain't fair. Stephen A. Smith has done it. A lot of them have come up and spoke up, but I think somebody gave him permission to do that. And so it don't look like it's all one side. I don't think that many of them came up to step up and for him on their own. But if they did, and we can give them the benefit of the doubt and stuff like that, I think it's stupid for any black man to be on television and call another black man stupid. And that's
Yeah.
or dummy.
Or an idiot.
Or
That's what
great
Shaquille O'Neal called him, an idiot.
that, you know, because I'm gonna tell you, people could call Shaq an idiot for some of the things he did in nightclubs and even directed at Kobe. People can call you Charles Barkley an idiot for throwing somebody through a plate glass window when he was a player. Everybody can be an idiot for something. So, you know, for them to stand up there, and you're not even standing up for young people, you standing up for Master. And I'm not saying Master as slave owners, I'm saying Master is who's the boss. And
Yes.
and so you know, the thing is this: Black and Jewish relationships will have to somehow be altered. And, you know, it's this young group. See, when I grew up, your mom, Ken and your mom grew up, and even Jewel to a certain, she's later in and stuff, and all of us, you know, we knew that we were fighting to be free. These
Yes.
children, they believe they already free. So they're fighting from a different viewpoint than we were. They think they free. So when you kill George Floyd in front of them, they trying to figure out where this coming from, because they ain't seen none of this. Where we grew up looking at that. And
Yes.
so we have different suffering reference points on this stuff. And so then they will take a different, but like I'm gonna tell you, they ain't dealing with the Black people of the past. They dealing with these young folk now that's on some different stuff. And they won't take that stuff. They don't want to listen to their parents, less known listening to somebody else telling them. So, you know, I just want to point that out. And that's all I really got to say. But I think Dave Chappelle is the most honest comedian out there. And he uses his wit. He doesn't just use what's funny. He uses his wit to make things funny. He actually de-escalates the way the controversy, the way he talks about it, because he have you laughing instead of hating. That's what way I see it.
And I agree, because I watched the show last night, and I don't watch a lot of TV, but if I hear something that I think I need to watch, and I felt like, oh, Dave Chappelle is going to be on there, and I like his the way he puts his comedy, because he has a way of giving you a solid message in his comedy. And he's very intelligent, a very brilliant man. And it was very brilliant the way he delivered that monologue. Is that what you call it? It was very, very brilliant the way he delivered it. And something Ken said is, we're not here. I didn't do my podcast to take anything away from anybody. However, my primary purpose was to help to elevate our people, because over my 72 years, even when I was a baby, I had foresight. I could see that my mother named me the right name, Louise, which means warrior for justice in German. So I'm saying she knew what she was doing, and she didn't know what she was doing, but it's okay, because I saw my mother take a lot, and I know I have not taken a lot, but I've had to deal with a lot on these jobs and housing, like I mentioned earlier. But we're not here to take anything away from anybody else. But I can say a lot of people have taken away from us, because they tend to do what we start. And they will follow it and do it and then make plenty of money off of it. But we don't. And that happened a lot back in the music industry, where they use our talent. However, we don't get rich off of it, but they laugh all the way to the bank. So we need to wake up on that part. And this is not to denigrate anybody or put anybody down. I'm just stating what I know. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for Chappelle to give up $50 million, that's a lot of money. But what's more important, your dignity, you as a man, to not let anybody use or emasculate you. To me, I'm like Muhammad Ali said now, that's more important than money should be to any of us because of all the atrocities we as Black people have gone through in this country. And Ken, please check Mr. Dalton's name, because I don't like to mispronounce anybody's name. I think his name is Ronald as opposed to Robert. I think it's Ronald Dalton Jr., but check that and make sure so we can make that correction, because I do think it's Ronald. And I did buy the books as well. So what do you guys think briefly? What do you think are some solutions briefly, because we've been on for a while, and we'll probably divide this up into 2 shows and get it edited and put it out on YouTube as well. But give me your thoughts and tell people how to contact you. And we're going to do this again. And if you all are in agreement, we can do it on a monthly basis. Come and just give insight, not only to impact our community, but impact the world, because we need more love in the world. We don't have enough. Everybody is hating on one another and trying to call one another out. And we need to stop that. We will never come together in a harmonious society as long as all of this spewing of hate is going on. And most of all, I think somebody said it, I can't remember who, we have to learn to love ourselves and find out who we really are. We need to know that. That's important. So with that said, yeah, look that up, Ken, because I believe his name is Ronald Dalton Jr. So
yeah, what it is.
Ronald.
I'm looking at it right now. Ronald Dalton Jr.
Okay,
Director.
that's what I thought. I thought it was Ronald Dalton Jr., not Robert. So we want to make sure Ronald Dalton Jr., he is the author of the 3-volume books, Hebrews to Slave, Wake Up Black America, Hebrews to Slaves, Wake Up Black America. And I ordered the books and I watched the movie, as I said, because I like to do my due diligence. And some of the stuff went over my head, and I want to have time to read the books and do some due diligence on my own, because it was very detailed. It was pretty complex, like Ken said. So let's have some final thoughts. Tell how people can get a hold of you, and we hope to have this panel back. We can be on a regular basis. Fred, I'm sorry you weren't able to speak. Fred the third, which is Fred.
Well, he'll be back with me again.
You'll be back. And Fred Fred the third is the founder of, he's the founder of Independent Blacks. And we're going to have you back. And we thank you that you were able to listen, at least, so you know what we talked about, even though you couldn't chime in and speak with us. But we know your heart. Sometimes these things happen. So anyhow, go ahead, and we'll start with Dr. Johnson. Go ahead and give us some final thoughts, what you think solutions and how people can reach you, if that's the case.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Shima Israel Johnson, and you can reach me at Protel, that's PROTELINT at gmail.com. And my comment of how we can come together is that we continue these dialogues of talking about what is the solution, as well as building structures to allow our people to have a place to hold themselves accountable and to be able to repair the damage that has been done to us by us. And that's my last word. That's my comment, because, nobody's going to do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves.
Absolutely. And again, that's Dr. Shima Johnson. And she said she could be reached at, let's see if I'm having this right, PROTELINT
That's PROTELINT @gmail.com.
Okay, everybody got that. So let's go ahead. Thank you so much for being on, Dr. Johnson. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm Louise Hicks. This show is Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, and we have this special this afternoon because my regular show is at 1 o'clock. My YouTube channel is aimed, AIMED, the number 2 Purpose Radio. Aim to Purpose Radio, YouTube, go there, subscribe, thumbs up. And we will be back with this panel. Hopefully everybody can come back and we'll do it again next month in December, hopefully before the holidays. And go ahead now, Dr. I'm sorry, Miss Jewel Bowman, and give us some final thoughts on how we can contact you.
I love the way that you put that doctor in front of my name, right? Because I believe it's supposed to have been there.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Bowman.
No. I'm playing with you.
She should have went on and got her doctor's degree. That's what she should have did.
That's right.
You know, just be like Fred and myself. We are Dr. Louise Hicks and Dr. Frederick Shaw Jr. because we have PhDs.
That's
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. I think I'm part of that club with the PhDs as well. I just want to say that, first of all, let me just say that Dave Chappelle is a magnificent and ingenious type of comedian to be able to demonstrate and show how things kind of play out. And yet he teaches how, you know, him himself took and sacrificed $50 million and walked away from that table before he allowed anyone to try to control him. He knows how it goes in that industry. So he, you know, he brought it and he put it out there, and in his own little, you know, way. It was funny, and like Mr. Shaw said, it took the bite out of it, right? And it kind of neutralized everything in a sense. But in terms of how do we as a people come together, you know, we kind of have to go back to how it was in 1940, 1950, where before we were all integrated, how we had to come together and stick together and support our own communities. And we are now $1 trillion buying power in the United States. And at one point, I believe we had matched the gross national product with the country of Canada in terms of our buying power. And so when we have that type of buying power, for me, I just believe that we can start and change a whole lot of things for our own community. The thing is that we need to get back to trusting one another. We need to get back to being loyal to each other and loving each other. And so, you know, we can't keep being the crabs in the barrel, pulling one down and all of that, trying to get to the top. And then it's the whole depiction of how Black women are so mad, and we're talking about these reality TV shows and stuff like that. It's just disgusting to me. But nevertheless, if we were able to come together as a community and we start understanding that how powerful we really are in our voting front, where we can actually start changing some things on a political level, we can change things on the economical level, and on a social level. We have to be accountable for our own demise, and we have to start putting in and allowing people or making people apologize to us, you know, and just kind of like just even this playing field. There's a whole lot to this, from the educational level of being equal to our empowerment in society. There's just so much work to do on that. And so with that being said, you know, you can just pick one, right? You can just pick one and work on it. I also, before I leave, I just want to say thank you to Minister Fred Shaw, who is actually my brother, right? I don't know if he wanted me to say that, but I'm gonna say that. And
I know you.
You know, nobody, yeah, I know, but you know, and the thing is this, there is actually, there's a background that we have where we have always been opinionated leaders. And so it was instilled in us as a people. And so what you're seeing is the forefront, how it comes to the forefront of this podcast, and how we relate to the community. So with that being said, thank you very much for your hard work and effort in the community. You know, you got my full support, and I just want to say thank you for inviting me on this podcast as well.
Well, I appreciate you coming, and I see the brilliance runs in the family. What can I say? So, at any rate, thank you so much, Jewel. You are a jewel.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, anyhow, he got these brilliant ladies together, Dr. Johnson and the sister, Dr. Bowen, who has a PhD, like Fred and myself. So anyhow, go ahead, Ken, because I'm going to have Minister Shaw to have the last words, and we'll wrap it up.
Well, the best thing we can do is just educate yourself on who you are, get to know yourself, and don't allow the television to dictate who you are. The television is a mind controlling device, and it will change the way you think about yourself if you allow it to. So just kind of educate yourself on who you are, and the truth is out there for those that want to know it. So that's about it. Just get to know yourself, and that way you can know others a little better.
Sounds good. And how can they reach you? Oh, Jewel, you didn't tell how everybody can reach you, if that's something you want to give out to, if you have an organization or whatever. If not, it's okay.
Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I forgot to. However, I can be reached at Jewel Bowen, Jewell, Bowen, B as in boy, OWEN, with the number 8 at gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram is JujuBees 221.
Awesome. And that's Jewel Bowen at gmail.com. JEWELLBOWEN, the number 8 at gmail.com. And you heard she's on Instagram and other social media, so Facebook as well. So Ken, go ahead and tell everyone how they can reach you. And you already said the other part.
My YouTube channel is Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. That's Kinetic, KENNETIC. It's a lot of information there about health, wellness, just how to, get to a higher level of consciousness. So all types of information is there. My Instagram is Kenan Wesley Mason. My Facebook is Kenan Mason. So just look me up, whether it's for fitness, physiotherapy, or for life counsel, holistic life counsel, being that I am board certified as a holistic psychology practitioner. And again, I just want to thank all of you for having me to participate. So thank you so much.
And Ken just started his podcast, which is the Kinetic Hour, and I was his first guest. He had his mom, because we went back and did like a reunion, I should say. And anyhow, again, everybody, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And my YouTube channel is, as I've mentioned before, AIMED, AIMED, the number 2 Purpose Radio. And you can go to my channel. I have lots of content. I'm on Instagram, Louise Hicks, A2P, the letter A, the number 2, the letter P. I'm on Twitter as Louise Hicks. And of course, Facebook, I have Facebook groups. You can check out my Facebook page, which is Louise Hicks, and my profile page is Lou Hicks. And lots of information there. And I want to thank Minister Fred Shaw and his son, whom had to listen this time. And Fred can tell us his son is called, he's the founder of Independent Black, Fred Shaw III. He popped off because he wasn't able to get in due to audio issues. And I always stress to everybody, we're going to let Minister Fred say what he's going to say about what Jules or Dr. Johnson, one of them talked about, and this is what I try and bring to everybody to awaken us about our spiritually, emotionally, mentally, economically, socially, physically, and intellectually. That's what I always stress on these podcasts. That should be our goal and our vision as Black people, because we know, as she said, one of you said about pulling ourselves out of the barrel, and everybody seems to be trying to hold us back as Black people, and we're not having it anymore. We're going to speak up and speak out. I keep my cup, as I said, speak up. I don't have one that says speak out, but it says speak up. So go ahead, Minister Shaw, and then we'll close the show with my, always say. So tell us your thoughts on the conclusion.
Well, first, I want to, again, thank everybody that came on. I think it is very important that we be able to understand the game. What Ken alluded to about the television is so important, because that's what they do, is it tells a vision. And so
Yes.
necessarily be your vision. It's the vision that they want you to have. And especially in the days when we were growing up, they used to say programming brought to you.
Right.
By programming. So
What it is.
you watch a television to get programming. And so when you see these people on TVs having a divorce party, and everybody goes up to the silhouette and kiss the penis at 10:30 at night when little girls could be watching, they are programming us.
Yes.
When we went from like Ice Cube and these people doing social commentary when they were rapping, to gangster rap, to feel the prison industrial complex. We're looking at programming. When in every neighborhood, you can walk the street and see liquor store after liquor store after liquor store, liquor stores, markets. So this is programming to teach you that you are nothing. It's programming. And so I just want to say that if we are the people are going to go somewhere, we must learn research and attain knowledge and education, yes, reading and not television, because people can tell you anything on television. They can tell you that this person is the savior and this person's a fool, and it could be vice versa. Malcolm had some very heavy quotes about media and how the media can have you criticizing the person who come to help you and praising the person that came to hurt you, because they can flip it like that. So I don't want to give anybody the idea that the Jews are responsible for our pain and suffering, that if they had a hand on it or not. To be released, it said, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Yes. Truth is knowledge. So therefore, that works. Now, it's not just knowledge. The wrong knowledge can work in reverse. You have to have the proper source of knowledge and then that will set you free. The problem is nobody wants you to be free because everybody make money on you but you in all of these systems. And that only happens if you're trapped. If you could see a trap coming, it wouldn't be a trap. So it's the design so we don't see the trap and we fall into the trap. And then we find ourselves caught in that trap, unable to get out. But it is nobody else's job to find a way out that trap but us. Because nobody, what did W.C. Fields say? Never give a sucker an even break and never wisen up a chump. Nobody does that. So we have to make sure that we do it for ourselves, that we come together as a people, that we work together as a people, as Dr. Chima, Jewel, everybody on this thing said, and we change the mindset. And that is what will save us. We have to do it. They can't. And I know people say, oh, well, I wish I was back in Africa. When we was out here and we were brought here slaves, nobody sent their canoe to come get us. So we even got to save ourselves from ourselves. So that's all I want to say. God bless you, Louise, for creating this platform. Everybody that came on, I thank you tremendously. And we need to really discuss bringing up certain issues and talking about them at least once a month or at least every other month.
We will do that. And I'm so happy to have this panel. Now, how can someone reach you? Because I know you got some organizations too. I think you do.
Yeah, well, the best way to get me is fshawjr@yahoo.com. I check it. And what they should do is put in the subject line, aim to purpose, spiritual hour, or just put Louise Hicks. And I'll know in the subject line where this came from, and I'll respond to them as fast as I can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming in on your private time. And again, this is a disclaimer. Everybody that came in on behalf of themselves as a private citizens of these United States of America. That's pretty much divided right now, but we still call them these United States of America. So everybody did come in on their own accord as a private citizen, not in any way related to whatever their job endeavors are. So that's the disclaimer that's out here. And I wanted to make sure I add that. And with that said, I'd like to thank Dr. Chima Johnson, PhD Dr. Jewel Bowen, Reverend Minister Fred Shaw Jr. of PhD like myself, Louise Hicks, and Kenan Wesley Mason of Kinetic Fit and Wellness, who he's probably got a PhD too, because he's really good at what he's done. And I guess I trained him well, huh, Fred? Oh, and by the way, I have a show with my 8-year-old granddaughter called Fun and Learning, and we come on once a month. It's FUN. It's Kenan's daughter. She's my little 8-year-old. FUN, the small letter N, Learning, LEARNING, with Grandma Louise and I almost forgot her name because I call her Sweet, Niger E. Jewel. And we come on once a month. We just say whenever we're going to come on, and we come on. And she's the host at 8 years old. And you should hear her orchestrate. Started out as me as the host, but then about the second podcast, she took over and told me she's now the host. So I allow her to be the host. And that's how we need to really train our children. So with that said, as I always leave you, I want everybody to have a great week ahead. And I will be in California this time next week. So the next show that I have next Sunday will be coming to you from California, because I'm going back home to stay a while. I'll be there maybe a month or two, and maybe I can get to meet you ladies, because everybody on here tonight is in California, except me. I'm in Texas. So I'll be there next week, though, and spend through the holidays with my kids and my granddaughter. So with that said, I always leave the show with this reminder, and don't anybody forget this: your power lies within you. Let it loose, because you are the creator of your own destiny. So don't ever forget that. Your power lies within you, and your destiny is your command. Thank you all, and God bless. And much love to everybody.